Hey, what's up guys? John here. I'm outside of America right now, but I just got word that my $20 million real estate fund, we're gonna raise 20 million bucks and buy distressed single family homes throughout America. The fund collapsed before we could begin. And it's very interesting. I've learned so much over the last couple months, but one thing that I learned in this fund is how the world works. You know, how my business model was set up. The company is called Home Assist. So now we're going to be restructuring things and changing things around. The entire model is going to have to change. It's very unfortunate. We're no longer going to be likely investing in single family homes at this rate unless something happens, a miracle happens. We'll find out more in a few days, but they essentially stopped the fund. They collapsed it. What the goal here was, is I think that we're stepping into a massive opportunity where inflation, hyperinflation, this could be a real problem. They're going to print so many more infrastructure and stimulus packages, and they're talking universal basic income. There's going to be so many people out there that are chasing a yield, that are looking to invest their money, put their money in something that's going to hold value and preserve their purchasing power. And that is, it's going to be a really big problem for a lot of Americans. So what my goal was I wanted to stop BlackRock and the big corporations from taking over single family homes in America. And I wanted to do it in a way to where I could profit, the investors could profit, and it was a win-win situation for everybody. So what my plan was that I was going to essentially raise the liquidity online. Then I was going to go out there and buy these single family homes from distressed homeowners through either forbearance, the eviction moratorium, they lost their businesses. And what I was going to do is buy these properties for cheap, you know, 50, 60 cents on the dollar. But the main clause here was that they had the opportunity to buy the property back within a 3-year time frame at the same price that I bought it for. So essentially, we would go out there, we buy the properties for relatively cheap, we would lease the properties to those people. They would stay in the properties, the investors would receive a residual monthly income check. In the event the market dumped, their capital is protected by an asset that's worth, you know, much more than the price in which we paid. So it was a win-win scenario for everybody. Now, the problem that I just found out is that when my securities attorney referred me to a transactional attorney to answer a quick question for me, she said, oh no, you can't do that. That's called equity skimming. You're skimming equity. And I said, well, how so? If they're going to have the opportunity to purchase the properties back, it's going to be set in the contract and everything's going to be done through, you know, a national title company, and it's going to be a clean, easy deal for everybody. How is it considered equity skimming? She said, okay, well, if you bought the property, let's say it's a $300,000 house, and you bought it for say 200 or 150, and then let's say they cannot get their job back and they simply can't qualify for a loan in 3 years, then they would have lost money. And I said, so what is the answer? Is the answer to buy the properties at market value today, which I believe is more than likely not going to maintain this parabolic trajectory that we've seen of last year, and put the investors at risk? And she said, well, you'd have to buy it at current market value. And I said, well, if these people are in financial distress, then I'm essentially opening myself up to problems, opening the investors up to problems. And that's essentially where we are right now. We're trying to restructure things. But what's fascinating to me is I was reading an article through CNBC, Ithaca, New York, and what they're doing here is they are these private equity investors, these big firms. They're working with the climate solutions to decarbonize real estate in Ithaca, New York. And what they're doing is exactly, and it has a lot of similarities to what I was doing, but because they're so big and they're so successful and they have so much clout and power, they're allowed to. The main difference here is that what I was doing was by the book. The homeowners knew what they were getting. The investors knew what they were getting. It was straight by the book, and they had the option to do the deal or not do the deal. But what they're doing in Ithaca is they are saying, okay, we're going to decarbonize the entire city. We're going to take out all the carbon, and we're going to raise the capital from private equity investors. These private equity investors then would make investments on these properties upwards of $50,000 per single family home, and then the property owner is responsible to make the monthly payments. So this is not a relationship that's brought about through, transparency and honesty. This is one brought by true pressure and force, and they're going to enforce it through Department of Building and Safety. They're going to change the zoning regulations, and they're saying more cities are coming. So they're essentially forcing all these mom and pop owners into a scenario in which where it could bankrupt them. It could put them in financial distress. Whereas my fund was completely different, because I was offering a solution to where people could stay in their homes for 3 years. They can get a new job, they can fix their credit, they can qualify for a loan, and then they could end up putting 20% down and purchasing the property, or 3.5%, or whatever the bank says, to purchase the property back for exactly what they sold it for and remain in their home. Otherwise, they're going to be facing foreclosure either way. So it's just, it's very interesting. We've all kind of seen how this power dynamic has worked through a lot of big players. They can essentially do anything, get away with anything. But if you're not that big dog that's writing the big donations and you have all the clout and the power, it's going to be very, very challenging. And when I'm looking at the numbers just from like a traditional real estate fund perspective, like my fund, my idea, how that was structured, it was giving a yield of like almost 20%, about 19%. That was before my fees were taken out. At the end, the investors would have made, over 10% return, over 10%, which is good. But most importantly, their capital is protected on an asset that you couldn't replicate for the same amount of money. And what's fascinating to me is now with all of the inflationary concerns, these inflationary concerns, even if you're getting a yield of say, 7%, 6%, with inflation, your money is basically just dying. It's not growing. It's not like we have traditional inflation at 2% or 3%. So now when people are investing, it's so important to pick an investment that's not only going to hold value, but that's going to give you the perspective of not just making additional monthly checks, but true capital appreciation, true growth in your investment. We're going to see some big changes. That's why I think it's so smart. My new model is going to be more on the money lending side. I'll have more information on that soon. We're doing our due diligence right now with my attorney and with my accountant to kind of see how we're going to potentially structure this. But it was a very informative experience, I just don't see myself at this point buying traditional multifamily real estate via a fund to just follow the herd, what everyone else is doing right now. It could work for them. It could work in a really, really big way. I just don't see the biggest moves happening there for both the investors and for myself. But I could be completely wrong. What do you guys think about this? Where do you think the big opportunity is? Do you think the opportunity is going to be in real estate? Do you think it's going to be in money lending? The one thing I love about the money lending industry, and the loans that I'd be doing would be relatively small, is that in a recession or a depression, the person that controls the money controls everything. So if you control the money and you have a model in which that capital is going to grow and grow and grow, and that capital is liquid, you're able to go out there and buy distressed assets. You're mobile. You can move, and you're going to grow, and everyone's going to want you because you have the capital. And it's going to get harder and harder to find that capital because banks are going to be restrictive, and people are going to be very, very selective to who they lend. So I think that model is going to be one that's going to be something that's going to be best for me, for the investors, and for the general public. But I'm curious what you guys think. Drop your comments below. Let me know. Pretty crazy times. All right, guys.
If you've enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into the real world of real estate investing, make sure to check out my gold standard program, Cash Flow Burner Blueprint, by clicking the link in the description below this video. We're currently living in very difficult times. I personally believe these are some of the hardest times that we've ever lived in. We are losing, in many cases, our families, our businesses, our jobs, our sense of security. All this is at threat right now, and it's all thanks to the draconian shutdowns that we're all faced to live under. It's times like these that we can see the value in having more than one stream of income. This is certainly not an unattainable goal or something reserved for only a select few. It is the achievement through education and hard work. Now is the time to be relying on multiple streams of income and not just Big Brother. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you think that your pension is going to cover your retirement, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Don't wait until misfortune knocks at your door. Be proactive and create more security for yourself and your family. One of the best ways you can earn a side hustle today is through real estate investing, something that I've been involved in for over a decade. The strategy is to invest in multifamily homes and live off of rental income through your tenants. These are some of the homes and apartments I currently own and I'm renting out. In my cash flow and blueprint, I'll teach you the ins and outs to real estate investing. You'll learn everything about recession-proof investing, real estate versus stocks, different types of real estate investing, how to appraise your own deals so you're not leaning on a third party to tell you what something is worth, out-of-state investing, maximizing your profits, and minimizing your expenses, improving your credit score, different types of loans and which one best fits you and your deal, selecting the right mortgage broker, finding the best deal, lease agreements, and how to find great tenants, and many, many more topics. This is my gold standard program, and in it I put together 1 decade's worth of experience and millions of dollars that I've invested, saving you the time and the money to learn the lessons that I had to learn. To learn more, click the link in the description below this video.